Hi everyone. Welcome to our second week of Families in an Electronic World. I'm looking forward to this week because we start into what I consider really to be the centerpiece of the course, and that is our online discussions. And this week we're going to be having a discussion about the videos and the reading that you had for last week, which really have to do with relationships. How are our relationships impacted by social media, by cell phones, by electronic technology, all that sort of thing. And looking forward to a good discussion. As you know, there are differing perspectives on this. Both the TED Talks, for example, Turkle and Broadbent had different perspectives on this. And so I'm really looking forward to a good discussion amongst all of us. Initially, I had thought about splitting the class into two groups. But we have 9 students in the class, and that's just a little too small, I think, to split us into two groups. So we're going to keep everybody in one group, which might be a little bigger than what I would like, but hopefully everybody has an opportunity to comment on things that other people are bringing to the discussion. And let me just remind you, if you have a question about how I grade the discussion, I put up a rubric on the content page of the D2L site, and there was a video that I recorded last week that talked about the sorts of things I'm looking for in terms of grading, so I would refer you to those and suggest you go back and take a look at them if you have a question about how this is going to be graded. So, as you know, this week's discussion is going to be based on last week's reading and videos. Next week's discussion will be based on the videos and readings we have for this week. So we're always going to stay, 1 week ahead in terms of the readings and videos. And so this coming week, whereas last week the readings and of course the discussion this week have to do with social media and cell phones, electronic communication, and relationships. This week it's going to stay in a similar vein, but it's going to take a little bit different direction. Because this week we're going to ask, how does social media affect our identity? How does it impact how we see ourselves? And for that I have a couple of readings and a couple of videos for you to watch. And then of course we'll have an item that'll be a basis of discussion for next week. So one of the readings is called Anonymous. That's because it was written by a student in this class a couple of semesters ago who decided for her course project that she was going to live without her cell phone for a week and keep a diary of it. When I read the paper, I thought, wow, this is fascinating and a really interesting experience that she had. And so, and of course it comes back to the issue of, well, just, how dependent are we on electronic communication? Obviously it's changed things in many ways, in very good ways. But have we become dependent on them to the point where it's problematic? This particular student spent a week without her cell phone, and this paper talks about that experience. The second paper, or actually it's a link that you'll find on, I'll give it to you on the page, the initial page of the course, but you can also find it as a link under the links of the course. Is from the Child Mind Institute, and it talks about some of the impacts of social media and electronic communication on child development. And there are many ways, again, in which we are helped by social media and are helped by electronic communication, but there are some challenges to it, and this paper really tends to focus on some of those challenges. Then there are 2 videos I have for you. One is about, it's actually an hour-long program, but I'm only asking you to watch the first 19 or 20 minutes. And you can certainly watch all of it. It's a fascinating documentary. But it's called Generation Like, and it is a Frontline special. Frontline is a show that comes on a regular basis from PBS and takes on a whole variety of topics, and occasionally they'll take on something having to do with the topic of this course, electronic communication. This particular video has to do, or documentary, really has to do with the whole phenomenon of likes and retweets with Twitter, and the idea that, you know, how we represent ourselves on social media has an impact on how we are viewed by others, which then in turn has an impact on how we view ourselves. The final 2/3 of the video really have to do with the economics of this, kind of the business of Generation Like, and how it's used to, you know, to make money for people. But the first third is what I'm really interested in for this class. How does social media impact how we see ourselves? Do we edit ourselves, for example, you know, by what we put up on Facebook or what we tweet, in hoping that we're going to get a response, a certain kind of response from somebody else? Now, if that's the case, what do you think about that? I mean, in some ways, we've always done that. You know, we're always very careful about how we portray ourselves to people. But you know, is there a new wrinkle that's going on with social media in particular that says, okay, I have an opportunity to paint a certain picture of myself out there that other people are going to respond to. And then the last piece, which is just a short video clip. I think it's called "What's on Your Mind." It has to do with a guy who updates his Facebook on a regular basis, and he does so in a way that's really, you know, positive, but that probably doesn't really reflect what's going on in his life. It's kind of a humorous piece, but I think it fits well with the topic that we're talking about this week. So that's what you have for this week. A couple of readings, a couple of videos. Make sure you do those in time for to take the quiz by next Monday morning, and then next week we'll use these as a basis of discussion.